Okay, let's get rolling with the presentation. Brief introduction to Mondigo. First of all, we've been around a while now, over a decade, based in Peterborough, in the UK. To date, we've sold over 3.5 million, or over 3 million desktop licenses worldwide. We specialise in CTI. That's what we do and what we do best. We work with various communication partners, of which Panasonic is one of them. We're a silver partner of Panasonic, and we also work very closely with CTI, CRM, and other software companies to sort of bring forward the integration side of our product. Our product is wonderful on its own, but it's even better when it integrates with other products as well. So we work very closely with those companies. And the main aim of that is to make the telephone system, in this case the Panasonic phone system, sort of part of an overall communication system. And we've got sort of proven expertise in sort of making that happen, and hopefully what I show you today will kind of back that up. Even though all of you guys are actually English today on the webinar at the moment, very much an internationally focused company. So we're very proud of the fact that we put a great deal of effort into not just making the product available in multiple languages, but also a lot of the collateral as well. So you'll find when you go on our website, there's always a drop-down box allowing you to switch into many other languages. The primary ones are listed on the screen there, but also our technical support as well, which may be sort of relevant to you guys sometime in the future. So we provide tech support in English, Dutch, German, and Spanish at the moment as well. So very proud of the fact that despite being an English country and our history of not doing languages very well, that we do sort of make an extra effort to make our product very much an international product. GoConnect for Panasonic is what we're going to be talking about this morning. That first bullet is very important. If you haven't sort of been around the product for a few months since the 2.4 launch, then the multi-platform bit might be a bit of a surprise to you, because that's the major change in 2.4. And the product's designed to help your customers get the very best use out of the Panasonic phone system that you sell to them, and it allows full control of the PBX and also an integration into a wide range of other applications, as I'm going to show you this morning. And as I said, it makes the PBX part of a unified communication system. So it's adding value to that system that you're selling your customers. The key benefit, in my mind at least, for GoConnect is the improvement in user productivity. That's how we sell it, and how obviously you would sell it too. So for example, your users, using the system, can know who's calling them before they pick up the phone. They can get the caller's details on screen very quickly, and that basically improves the whole call handling experience and the caller's experience as well. The caller coming into your customer's system gets a much more professional handling of that incoming call. And if you work with customers that do a great deal of outbound calling, then the ability to to find contacts very quickly in the recent dial list, in the call history list, in the shared address book that we're going to look at, and also the integrated applications. So any company that does a heavy load of outbound calling should see a very significant increase or improvement in call productivity because of the ability to find those numbers very quickly and make that calling happen very quickly. And something I'm going to show you in the presentation, the demonstration, is the collaboration now between Office and mobile users, and that's one of the key areas that's new in version 2.4. So one thing that 2.4 also brought about was a bit of a change in the way the product sort of works at this kind of base level. So rather than being extension focused, which it can still be, but it's very much also available now as a sort of user focused kind of system. So you have users set up on the system. An example of this would be that when your PC client users log in, rather than them being tied to extension 202, that's the one that they use, you can actually get it set up so that they can provide the extension number as and when they actually log in and connect to the system. So that's great for a hot desking environment where a user comes in the morning, sits at a different desk each day. They can tell GoConnect and all of their other colleagues which extension they're on that particular day, which is kind of nice. It moves it sort of more user focused, and by definition then, when a user then changes their availability, then on the present screen that availability is then shown against the extension or the mobile device to which they're registered to. So users can kind of move around without being sort of tied into extensions in quite the same way as maybe they were previously. Also in 2.4, some major new features were added. We're going to look at these in a bit more detail today, so you're fully aware of how they fit into the overall scenario. So we've got the new Attendant Console, which is an integrated operator console. I'm going to take a look at that. We've got a Mac client now, so another box that we can tick, as well as having the PC client that we had before. So much of the stuff that you could do with the PC client is now available on the Mac side of things. And we've got these mobile clients as well, both for Android devices and for Apple devices as well, iOS devices as well. So we're opening up Go Connect outside of the office now to the mobile workforce as well. And lots of the things you can do on the PC client, you can also now do on a smartphone as well. We'll look at that. I've got a few screenshots to show you how that works. So as of 2.4, this is kind of the components that go to make up the Go Connect product portfolio. So if you've taken 6 months vacation and you come back, you'll be surprised at how much has been added to it in the last 6 months or so. One thing to point out is the old Express version has been relabeled or rebranded as the Office version. So we've got the Office version of the client, and we've got the CRM version, which is the unchanged integrated client. I mentioned briefly iteration 2.4.xx. We haven't decided on the final designation yet. It will be available from October the 1st, and that has some extra features added, as well as the usual sort of kind of bug fixes and smartening up of things. Some very nice new features. We've got the Active Directory integration. Tomorrow, actually, on the pre-sales presentation, we look at that in more detail, explain how that works. And also the Exchange calendar integration. There's a brief slide on it today, but if you want more details on that, we cover that in the pre-sales presentation at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Federated servers is another new feature, and again that's covered in tomorrow's presentation. And we've got some sort of bits and pieces on the Attendant and the mobile as well. So obviously we introduced those in 2.4, and we're tweaking them and adding sort of customer suggestions, etc. on there as well. We'll see a few of those in the presentation today. Product architecture now. So just to put a sort of a picture on where we are, if you like. This is a very sort of basic, simplified version. It can get far more complicated than this, and when we look at the licensing options tomorrow, then you'll see how complicated it can get. But this is a fairly simple sort of version. So you have your various user clients, either on the Mac side or on the PC side. You've got your new Go Connect Attendant, providing operator functionality. They're all talking to the Go Connect server, which itself is talking to the PBX. And then out on the road, you've got your Go Connect mobile users using Go Connect Mobile on the Android and the Unified Communicator on the iOS devices. And that's kind of just a nice picture, just to kind of show how the individual components kind of fit together on a fairly standard one PBX single site environment. Background to that, none of this has really changed. So the server to PBX connection is as it was with CSTA over an IP connection. If you have other non-Go Connect applications running, then you need a MUX license to get that to actually work properly. The client to the server connection, unchanged. It's still an IP connection. And the handset to PBX is completely unaffected. So there's nothing to change in the Panasonic side of things when you implement Go Connect. That's always a nice sales feature to say there's nothing, nothing changes on that side of things. Just a brief pause to see if anybody's got any questions there before we dive into a bit of a demonstration. I'll just give it a quick 5 seconds see if anybody's got any questions. Okay, either you've got no questions or you've all forgotten to unmute and you've asked loads of questions and I couldn't hear them. So I'll assume it's the former rather than the latter. Okay, let's have a look at the PC client first of all. And just a bit of background on this, just to sort of clarify the sort of changes. So we have the new Office version, the Express version, and the CRM version. So we're talking about the PC client, we'll talk about the Mac client in a moment or so. On the Office side of things, then at the moment it supports integration into Outlook, Lotus Notes, and Google Contacts. In fact, both versions support integration into those standard applications. And then the CRM version then offers the integration into the other applications that we're going to look at a little bit later. We've got a slide on that. The PC client has pretty much had new functionality added within the different interfaces. So I'm just going to give you a quick demo just to sort of remind you how the actual functionality works and show you a couple of the new features as well, looking at the system tray, the preview window, and the phone window. So let's just fire up a bit of a demo and just show you how this works at the moment. And just in case there are any completely new users or new people new to GoConnect, I'll put a bit of background on the way the system works as well. So bear with me if you're already familiar with the product. But basically, the access to the GoConnect client is through this discrete icon in the system tray. When you right-click on it, it brings up the system tray menu, and this is where you can pull up some of the the main functionality of the product. Now, we mentioned this address book as being sort of a central part of GoConnect, and what that means is that the GoConnect users, in the absence of any other sort of CRM or other application, then GoConnect users can put in details or stored details of regularly spoken to contacts, and it's a shared address book, so the organization can share that information. So for example, if I go into the address book, this is my address book on my demo system and all the users that I talk to. So if I'm looking for a particular user, I can do a bit of a search and find my friend Jose Mourinho. And what you can see here is an example of the integration actually working. So we found Jose's record on the shared address book, but we've also found him on the Outlook. I've got my Outlook integration set up as well, so we found Jose on there. If we click on Jose's name, then we can pull up his address book record, and you can see in here you can store the sort of contact information for him. And notice also that there's a notes field there that you can apply as well, so you can sort of set some notes up that will appear on the screen as you're speaking to Jose. So that's the shared address book that everybody can participate in the content of, or you can control that at a server level, so you can let users add to the address book or not as required. Let's just simulate an incoming call from our friend Jose, or Jose rather. So there we go. So there's Jose calling us. So that's the example of the preview window. Now this is specifically designed to be small and discrete. So whatever you're running on your main screen, it doesn't splat over the top of your your Sage data, your Sage database, etc., etc. So it's designed to be small and discrete. You've got little icons down below. When you hover over them, it tells you, what they actually mean. You've got the caller's details. You've got a little note here that when you hover over it, it shows you that note that we had in the address book record for Jose. So you can see that you have all the information you need to know about that caller before you've even answered the call. We still haven't answered the call yet. If we answer it, then all of the call controls are there available as individual icons. Experienced users tend to use this as their primary sort of interface using the GoConnect client. However, we also have the larger phone window, and what you sometimes find is that clients will tend to use this to start with as they get familiar with the use of GoConnect, and then maybe switch to using the preview window a little bit later on when they're a bit more confident with it. But either way, either of the two screens has the caller information, you can see the notes information, and you can see the call controls here as well. So we can hang up the call, we can put Jose on hold, we can consult, we can contact one of our other colleagues and talk to them and potentially transfer the call over to them, or we can just directly transfer the call over. We've got the show contact, so we can pop Jose's information, so we have it on screen in full detail if we want to. And if we find Jose in any other integrated application, you can see an example here where we've got Microsoft Outlook, but if we found him in Act, for example, then the Act logo will appear there on the CRM client, and you can click on it, and you can go to the record for Jose in your Act database. So it's all there and available, everything that you need. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this call over to, or potentially put this call over to one of my colleagues, but I just want to check to see if he is actually available. So I'm going to pull up the present screen, and this shows us in the office who's actually in, what extensions they're registered to, and we've also got the mobile extension set up as well. So we've got some mobile users, and we can see what they're up to as well. We'll look at the mobile a little bit later. But the guy I want to speak to is actually Ian Deacon, so I can see he's there. He's in the office. He's not on the phone at the moment. So I want to just quickly chat with Ian before I transfer Jose over to him. So from here I can do a consult. And now you can see I'm actually calling Ian. We're waiting for Ian to answer the phone. I've still got Jose there at the moment. The call is ringing. In a moment, Ian's going to answer that when he finishes making his coffee. There we go. So I'm now talking to Ian Deacon. I've still got Jose there on hold if I wanted to come back to him. But now I can chat to Ian, tell him what Jose was looking for, and either complete the transfer or maybe just cancel it off, and that's what I'm going to do at the moment. So I'll just cancel that call with Ian, and I'm back speaking to Jose again. Okay, I'm just going to hang up that call, and just a brief word about availability. I'm going to come to this several times in the presentation. This screen, the whole present screen. The idea of this is that you can see, your colleagues if they're on the phone, who they're speaking to, if they're available. You can set your own availability in several ways. You've got your availability in your system tray, but what you'll also notice at the moment that it's saying that I'm busy. I'm not on the phone, but it's actually saying I'm busy, and the reason it's doing that is it's actually, I've got the Outlook integration switched on, so it's picked up my calendar for today, and you can see it actually says that I'm busy doing Mondigo training today. So it's actually picked that up from my Outlook calendar, which is kind of nice. We'll talk about the Outlook integration a little bit later as well. Okay, so that's the sort of the first part of the demo. A couple of things that I didn't show you on the demo, just to sort of bring them to your attention. If you've got a call coming in, or maybe even a call going out where the person isn't in your address book at the moment, you've always got the option to, during the call, add them into the address book, so a new contact option appears if it's somebody we don't know already. Or alternatively, you can go back into your history later on for a call that maybe came in a couple of hours ago. You've been busy, you go back into it, you can find that call, click on it, and then you can add that caller's details into the address book. So there's always ways to go back and get those regularly called contacts into the address book, so that next time you call them or they call you, then their name appears and their details appear from the address book. We saw this earlier with the contact searching. Here we're looking for anybody with the name of Huffman. We found them in the shared address book. We found them in the integrated Outlook application. So both Office and CRM would do that for you if you set them up in that way. But here's an example of using the CRM version with integration into ACT as well. And you can see here that we've picked up Chris Huffman from our ACT database. The point that we have here is that any one of these phone numbers, you could click on these numbers and dial that person without going anywhere near the integrated application. You can go into it if you want to, just click on the person's name, but if all you want to do is dial them, then you can pick up that phone number directly from this searching. That's a nice example of the sort of consolidated searching, if you like, of all of the resources where that person's information might be stored and might be available and useful to you. Something new in 2.4. I'm not sure this is going to be too exciting at the moment, but I'm sure there's going to be reasons why people might want to do this. We've got some hotkeys that you can set up now. So for making a call, answering a call, or hanging up a call, you can now configure various combinations of F keys and Shift and Control. I'm sure there's reasons why people might want to do that. So that's hotkeys. And one other thing that I didn't mention is forwarded calls. If an incoming call is coming to you and it's been forwarded to you from one of your colleagues or from another extension, here's an example of the preview window, and it's kind of nice because you can see the original caller, who they are, and obviously if they're in your address book, their details would be shown. But you can also see the person that forwarded that call to you. So it was originally the person calling from Bedford originally wanted to speak to Wendy. So it's nice, before I've even picked up the phone, I know who's calling and I know who they originally wanted to speak to, and that means I can provide a much more professional answering of that call. When I actually speak to the caller, pick up the call. Okay, so we looked at picking up incoming calls directly to us and forwarded calls. Let's have a look at sort of picking up other people's calls and messaging. So what I'm going to do to get this to work is just bring this down a moment, and I'm just going to start up the attendant side of things. So just bear with me a minute while I fire the attendant. This gets a little bit confusing then, because I've actually got the PC client running on my machine, and I've also now, having started this, got the attendant running as well. So things do get a little bit hairy when you've got the two clients running on the same machine, but it does work. This is an example of the demo that's available. So here we have the attendant client. We're going to look at the attendant in a little bit more detail, but I'm just doing this so that I've got access to be able to call. And let's just get the presence window up as well. Right, okay, so I'm on the attendant on the right hand side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate a call to my colleague Patrick Mace in the administration department. I'm just going to use the operator to simulate that call coming in. So this is the operator, and the operator is going to call Patrick Mace, and I, Phil Driver, I'm going to hear that call ringing and I'm going to pick it up. So there's the call coming in or going out. There's Patrick Mace's phone ringing, and from there, rather than running across the room, I can just pick up the call from here. You can see the call is ringing. It's showing that it's the receptionist that originally wanted to speak to Patrick Mace, so I know what's going on. I can answer the call from here, or I can pull up the phone window, and there we go. So we're speaking to the receptionist. So there's an example of picking up an incoming call from one of your colleagues, or on behalf of one of your colleagues. So very, very simple in the way that you do that without having to run across the room and pick calls up. Having done that, and let me just hang that up, having taken a call on behalf of a colleague, one of the next things you're perhaps likely to do is actually want to provide them with a message to let them know that you've spoken to somebody on their behalf. And in the old days, you'd stick a yellow post-it on their screen, but with Go Connect, all you do is you go into the presence screen and you can send them a message. So you can say, "Hi Pat, reception called," or something like that. Okay, so just ping that message off and we can send that over to Pat. So, and that will appear on Pat's screen. Just to show you what that looks like when you're the recipient of a message, let's use the Attendant Console here, and what we're going to do is we're going to send a message to me, Phil Driver, just to show you what it actually looks like. So on here we'll just send message. Something like that, just so we can see it come through. There we go. So that's the operator sending me a message, and that's what it looks like when you receive a message from somebody. So it sits there on your screen, and you have a choice now when you have that message. You can either just dismiss the message off of your screen, or if you want to, you can actually reply to the message as well. So if we just click reply, it come up and we can just put our message reply in there. You're seeing two versions of this because my client's running both versions of this at the moment. And that messaging facility is quite nice because what you can then do is on your system tray, you've got full access to all of your old messages. Okay, and you can pick up, just like text on your mobile phone, you can pick up any messages that you want to. You can start and carry on the the conversation from that particular message. You've got filtering in here. So for example, I think I had Dow in there earlier, so if I type Dow and find it, no, I've got rid of it. Okay, never mind. Let me go find something else. David, that'll do. So you can filter down, you can find any of the messages with the word David in the title as well. So as this gets longer and longer and longer and you have thousands of messages, then you can find old messages if you want to. And that's an example of the messaging. Okay, just build the presentation back up again. And the last thing I need to show you, which is possibly one of the most important things if your client is an outbound calling client, doing lots of outbound calls. So let me show you some of the examples, and some of these things may be new to you from 2.4 onwards. So if you pull up the system tray, you can dial directly from here if you want to. So if I literally just put 202 in as an extension, or maybe a real number, then you can just dial straight from there if you want to. Something new that definitely was new in 2.4 is originally when we found Jose, we went into the address book first of all and hunted for him, but you can now actually start your search in the system tray menu. So here you can type in Jose and it will do the search straight away before you even get into the address book. And from here, you can then, as I say, you can just dial the call from here, or you can dial it from the number that you found in Outlook. Without going anywhere near Outlook, you can just dial it straight from there. So that's a couple of examples of the quick dialing. Another one, on the recent list, you've got your 10 most recent people that you've called. So if you very quickly want to call somebody back you spoke to 5 minutes ago, you can just find their number straight from there, just click on it, and it will dial. And you've got your full call history as well. So by default it shows you the last 50 incoming and outgoing calls. All right, and you can click on any one of those numbers to actually call those people as well, which is kind of nice. You can also see your colleagues' history. So that was our history. If you put up the presence window, any one of your colleagues, if you want to know who my colleague Patrick Mace has spoken to recently, then policy permitted, and we'll talk about the policies in a moment, then you can see his call history as well. So that's my colleague who he's spoken to in the last few weeks. So any one of your internal colleagues, you can theoretically see their call history. And the final thing to show is on the address book. So if we find our chum Jose again, then we can also find their call history as well. So anybody that's in the address book, you can see if you've spoken to them and if any of your colleagues have spoken to them as well. And obviously from a call handling sort of group working environment, then that ability to see your colleagues' calls and your customers' call history greatly improves the ability to sort of handle calls and intelligently deal with calls on other people's behalf, see who's been speaking to who, when they spoke to them, etc., etc. One final thing to demonstrate that was new in 2.4 is the new clipboard dialing, which is a kind of nice thing. So I've got an example here. It doesn't matter what this is. This could be a web page. It could be a document, as I have here. But whenever you copy into the clipboard something that looks like a phone number, so let me just do that. It didn't work first time this morning, but hopefully it will this time. There we go. So the minute you copy anything into the clipboard dialing window opens up and offers you the chance to dial that number. And you can set parameters on the length, the minimum and the maximum length and the start digits of what you would regard to be a phone number. So you can sort of pin that down a little bit better to make it a bit more intelligent. But that's kind of nice that you can literally, whenever you're anywhere in any resource, if you copy a phone number without having to then paste it somewhere else, the function of copying it fires up the clipboard dialing option as well. Let me close some of these windows down now. Okay, so that's the making calls. A couple of other things that I couldn't show you on, or didn't show you on the demo. Something we've added in 2.4, I think it's the 2.4, not the latest iteration, is the display of the local time now. So whenever you're talking to anybody internationally, it does display their local time, which is quite nice. There's this send digits option that's been around for a little while. So if you do outbound calling and you need to press 1 for the money and 2 for the show and that kind of thing, then you've got this send digits option where you can provide that input to that particular outgoing call. Web page dialing, something I didn't show you, is whenever you're on a web page, you can switch this on so that it will again hunt for anything that looks like phone numbers and present those numbers as hyperlinks. So then you can actually just click on the number and dial that number. That's something you can switch on and off as required. It can get a bit irritating at times, so you might want to sometimes switch that off. Now some of these features are available to turn on and off on the PC client itself. So you go into the system tray menu, click on configuration, and when you come in here you can see you can switch on the clipboard dialing or off, and the web page dialing, and there's other things that you can switch on and off here as well. That's on the client side of things. On the server side of things, you can control a lot of the functionality that I've shown you. So the ability to pick up a colleague's calls, for example, or the ability to view the presence, or to edit the address book or add contents into the address book. So you can set up individual users or groups of users and apply these policies so you can pin down and nail down exactly what it is you want that group of users to be able to do, or more specifically what you may not want them to be able to do. It may be that you just don't want them to edit the address book at all, but just use the address book as from a searching point of view. So that's kind of nice. That's security policies that you control on the server itself. A couple of quick words about the Mac client. Pretty much as you would find on the PC client. There are a few sort of subtle differences, but the main functionality of the call control, the presence, the chat, the history, the browser dialing through Safari, and the clipboard dialing, all of those features are available on the new Mac client. So if you get any questions about the Mac client, then you can say pretty much that those features are carried through from the PC side of things. Both the Office and CRM versions are available for the Mac client, and they support the Apple address book as the integration that they sort of go into. So you've got caller preview and adding contacts and click to dial through those functions. And then the CRM version of the Mac client then supports Salesforce, so it has integration into Salesforce. So they're the sort of the differences between the Mac and the PC client. There's a comparison on the website. I won't sort of dwell on this too much, but there's a comparison on the website to show you what's available in the PC and the Mac clients in the Office and CRM versions. So you can reference that on the 2.4 website. Quick pause for any questions at that particular point. No questions? Okay, right, we'll push on. So let's have a look at the mobile client. I tend to use this generic term of Go Connect Mobile with a small m, if it wasn't all in uppercase, but with a small m, because what we actually have is two new applications, mobile applications. One is Go Connect Mobile with a big M for Android devices, and the Unified Communicator, which is for iOS devices. So if we just look at the Android one first of all, but much of this functionality is available on the iOS side as well. So with the new mobile app, the mobile user has access to the presence screen that we demonstrated earlier, so they can see who their colleagues are, whether they're on calls, etc., etc., and they can dial any of these users from the presence screen. So it's just like the the PC client side of things. What they can also do is they can dial Office extensions directly now, if you set it up with Deezer or with the auto attendant functions in the phone system itself. So the mobile phone user can dial directly through to a particular extension in the office, and they've also got access to the shared address book. And this is quite important, because what this means is, from a provisioning point of view, each of the individual mobile users doesn't need to have all of the contact details on the mobile phone itself. They can pick up that contact information from the shared address book. So that's kind of nice from a sort of provisioning side of things. From a cost side of things, they can actually dial external contacts through the PBX. So rather than using the mobile phone sort of signal, 3G signal, they can actually dial through the PBX to external contacts. And that could potentially save quite a bit of money in mobile phone charges, particularly if those external contacts are international calls rather than sort of local calls. So there's some sort of potential money-saving possibilities there if your customer has a heavy mobile workforce, potentially calling lots of external customers, maybe in the sort of on an international side, then you could sort of reduce mobile calling quite significantly there. If the call comes in to the mobile phone, to the mobile app from the PBX, then a special call overlay is displayed. So all of the information that you see on the preview screen that we saw on the PC client, then that information is on the mobile screen, so you can see the company name, the caller details, etc. And the call can then possibly be transferred through to any colleague, either a mobile colleague or an office colleague. So the same kind of sort of console transfer functionality that the PC and Mac clients have that availability as well. But that's calls coming in from the PBX. Likewise, the mobile client has the ability to block incoming calls and can reroute incoming calls from the PBX, and they can set their status as well. So when we saw how you can set your status as yourself on your PC client, mobile users can also set up whether they're available or in a meeting or out of office. If that mobile user happens to be an Exchange or an Outlook client, then we'd possibly be picking up their details from there anyway, certainly on the Exchange side. But they can also set their availability here as well. So you're basically bringing in the mobile user into the whole GoConnect family, if you like, so that they can participate in that presence and sharing and collaboration with their office counterparts. Another new feature in the new iteration, and this is kind of nice, tied into the mobile app, is the show on map function. And the idea of this is that from the attendant and from the PC client, at the moment not the Mac client, but from the PC client, you have a show on map feature now, which allows you to see the physical location of any GoConnect mobile users. So it needs the mobile app obviously on the device, and then it uses the phone's GPS GSM signal to calculate the physical location of the phone, and then the data signal to actually send that location back to the GoConnect server. So that's kind of nice to be able to see the physical location of mobile users at any particular time. So that ties in with the mobile app. And it should go without saying, but the chat and the messaging facilities that you have on the PC client and the Mac client are also available on the mobile as well. So that whole chat functionality that I was showing you earlier is available to mobile users as well. And interchangeably, so mobile can talk to mobile and can talk to Office, etc. The unified communicator, really just the one slide on this, because at the end of the day it supports most of the features on the GoConnect mobile side of things, a couple of limitations. There is a full feature comparison on the website if you want to look at the bits and pieces that are slightly different between the two versions, but essentially it's the same thing for iOS, iPhones and iPads. The other new feature in 2.4 is the Attendant Console. This takes a little bit of sort of understanding. There's two ways to actually cook this particular feature, so it's quite important to sort of clarify the two ways to have it set up. But the idea is that it's an application for operator call control. So as you saw in that demonstration I did earlier, I had a full operator console up there that I could see all of the different extensions, etc. So what they can do is they can monitor the ICD queue as well as the operator's own handset. So the operator can act as a client as well. They can be a GoConnect user in the same way as your PC and your Mac clients. If you configure the telephone system in an appropriate way, the actual calls to the handset can be answered in any order. There are technical implications to that, which are covered in the technical presentation, but it is possible to get that set up. And you can also have other extensions can be monitored through the Attendant Console as well, so you can sort of set up boss secretary type features. I'll show you a bit of that in a moment. But as I say, this Attendant Console is actually a client as well. So all of the features that we've seen with the presence and the chat and the address book sharing and the integration, the operator has access to that functionality just like a standard PC client. So this is the operator console, slightly more populated than the one that I showed you earlier. On the left-hand side, we can see the incoming and held calls. And down the bottom here, we can see any connected calls for the operator's client themselves. So that's the people or the person that they're speaking to. And then they have various tabs. You can see they've got the Contacts tab, the History tab, and the Messages tab, which are very similar to the functionality on the PC client. The Auto tab auto-populates with the most recent extensions that had incoming calls coming into them. So you can see the most recent extensions that have been used. And the Extensions tab is just a full display of all of the extensions that have been set up with GoConnect, all the PBX extensions that are available. That's filterable, so you can kind of tailor that down, tailor that display down. And what the Attendant can do now, something new in 2.4, is edit the extension details. So things like the name, department, DDI number, availability status, and absence text. These are things that were changeable via the GoConnect server, but that functionality has now been also added into the Attendant, and also notes against an extension as well. So as you can see here, they've set up a note to say that this particular extension 201 Ian Deacon doesn't work in the afternoons. So whenever you hover over Ian Deacon, you see a little note there, and you can see the note that's been applied. So the Attendant now has the ability to provide additional intelligence information into the extension details, just like the GoConnect server could as well. Okay, two versions of the Attendant. This is the least likely one of the two. We call this the standalone edition, and all you have here essentially is one GoConnect user, which is the Attendant operator, and on their PC, the server version of GoConnect and the Attendant's client are installed on the same operator's PC, and that talks directly to the Panasonic PBX. There are no other GoConnect users. This operator can transfer calls to other users, but there are no other users on the system, so there's no presence and there's no chat. That's a fairly limited sort of implementation of GoConnect. We don't see people using this too much. The more likely scenario is the server edition, and what you have here, this is a simplified version. It can get much more complicated than this, and we can see tomorrow. But in simplified form, we have an operator running the Attendant client. We have various GoConnect users, PC or Mac users. We might have some mobile users off here in the distance as well. But all of these clients talk to the GoConnect server, which then talks to the Panasonic PBX. So this is just essentially then just another client, but it has that operator console interface as well as the preview, or instead of the preview and the present screen that we saw earlier. This is one site, but this could be exploded out. This could be multiple sites using GoSite. This operator could be, there could be multiple operators, or there could be just one operator picking up the calls for multiple sites. So this diagram can change quite considerably, but they're the individual components, if you like, of how it could be set up. Now, I mentioned GoSite, so a couple of brief words about GoSite. That allows integration of multiple sites. So the diagrams I've shown so far have kind of assumed there's one PBX and there's a bunch of users out there using that PBX, and there's one server attached to it. What GoSite allows you to do is have multiple PBXs all accessing, all attached to the same GoConnect server, up to 10 in one go. Those PBXs or sites could be in multiple countries, different time zones, different languages. You can set the local languages up as required. And if you add DDI numbers in, then you can kind of, individual users can actually ring other sites, even when there's no private network is actually present. So it's almost like a conglomerated consolidated site where the present screen shows all of the users at all of the sites, and you can dial straight to those users' extensions by adding in the DDI numbers. So this is a very simple, but the simplest version of Go site that there possibly is, which is 2 sites. So site number 1, where you've got your users, there might be an attendant thrown in there as well, and the Go Connect server is connected to the first PBX. The second site also has a PBX, and the server is attached to that site as well. From a licensing point of view, which we cover in much more detail tomorrow, then it's the second site and any other subsequent sites that require the Go site licensing. So the first site doesn't require the license, the second site does. And this could be extended up to 9 additional sites there in the Go site environment, the multi-site environment. Go Gateway is another sort of extra licensable function within the portfolio, another component within the portfolio. If you have any Microsoft or any clients that are using Microsoft Link or OCS, then this provides a gap or bridges the gap between the phone system and the telephony functions within those applications. So incoming call control, outbound calling, the click to dialing, and caller display, we can enhance those functions and enable those functions in the Link and OCS applications. So talk to us if you have any clients that might be interested in that integration functionality. Brief pause again for questions before we just get into the application integration side of things.
Yeah, Phil, it's Tim Docker here.
Hi, Tim.
So, with the Go site scenario, does there need to be any networking between the sites, the respective PBX?
Javier?
Can you repeat the question, Martin, yeah?
It was Tim.
No, it's Tim Docker.
Sorry, Tim.
Yeah, with the Go site scenario, in order for that to work, does there need to be any networking between the sites or the PBX? How does it work?
Multi-site, yes, have to be a network involved.
There has to be what, sorry?
Yeah, the network involved there. Obviously,
So the
two companies have to be a VPN network or other network that can ensure that our both servers can communicate each other.
It's still IP though,
Okay,
isn't it?
so Internet VPN or MPLS WAN or something like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But is there a requirement also for VoIP connectivity between the PBX, or is the VPN adequate?
No, it's just server to server. Our communication connect to the other server that is on the other site.
No, in Go site when there's only the one server.
Multi-site.
Say again, sorry?
Javier, I think it was...
No,
Yeah, I understand there's only one server, but obviously there needs to be connectivity between
Yeah.
the two sites. But yeah, I understand now.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
I think what we need to do,
Yeah, our
Javier,
server have to communicate, yeah.
probably Javier, what we need to do is improve the diagram and just put some extra detail
nodes
in
to
there.
the network. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
no,
to show
I
that
understand. That's fine. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cheers, Tim.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Right, let's have a look at the. We've sort of briefly touched on the integration side of things. This is what we feel is one of the other primary benefits, if you like, of Go Connect is its ability to integrate into other applications. The call control and the shared address book is all fine, but where we think it takes it to the next level is its ability to talk to other applications. And chances are most of the clients that you are going to be talking to will be running some other application that probably has some other contact database type information already within it. It may be they still run from an old Excel spreadsheet, but chances are they're running some other formalized application. So what we're talking about here is the ability to implement integration into those applications. It might not be a true CRM application. It could just be some other application that's got some form of contact database where phone numbers and names are being stored. Or it could be online resources like social media and web pages. I'm going to show you some examples of that in a moment. When we talk about the integration, what we mean is there are various functions that we can provide within that integrated application. And we use these sort of terminology quite loosely. So what I want to do is just clarify what we mean by these four terms. So for example, caller preview is fairly self-explanatory, that when you have a caller coming in or even an outgoing call, if we can identify that caller from the phone number in the integrated application, then we will provide information about who that caller is, their name, their company name, and their location, etc. So that's previewing the caller's details. On top of that, when you're looking at the preview window or the phone window, if we found that caller's details in an integrated application, then we will display the icon for that application in the preview or the phone window. And if you click on the icon, it gives you then the opportunity to pop the contact's details. And what that means in this particular example, with this Sage example, it will, if it's not already open, the Sage database will be opened, and it will actually take you to the caller's record in that application, in this case Sage, and display that application in a separate window. So it's popping that contact's details rather than the user on the phone frantically typing in a search argument to try and find that that caller, trying to find Chris Huffman in this case. Then the system can do that automatically by just literally popping on the application's logo. So that's what we mean by contact popping. Contact searching, we've seen examples of that already. There's a blown up version of the screen where you can see the full consolidated searching through the shared address book, the standard applications in Office and CRM. So you've got Outlook and Google Contact and Lotus Notes, and then any other integrated applications as well. And from here you can dial these numbers as we saw earlier. So without going anywhere near Sage Act or Microsoft Outlook, you can click on these numbers to dial them. When we talk about click to dial, what we're talking about is you being within an application, an integrated application, and whenever a phone number is displayed on a screen, then transposing a dial icon so that you can dial that number from within the application. So that's what we mean by the click to dial. And the various integrations of different applications provide the searching, the click to dial, and the contact popping, etc. So these are the standard applications that we support at the moment on the CRM version of the PC client. There's a full list on the website on the integration section, and we're adding to that list all of the time. I think one of the most recent ones added is the Zing application. Is that China, Javier, that was popular?
In Germany.
In Germany, I wasn't far off.
Yep.
Okay, I knew it was popular. Very popular in Germany, apparently. I'd never heard of it before, but there you go, Zing. And we have on the website a full list of all of the applications and also how they fit with Mac and with PC. Obviously, most of them at the moment not available on the Mac side, but that might change in the future depending on availability. But there's a full list of all the applications on the website, which you can take a look at. And also there's advanced integrations as well. So we support industry-specific applications, many of which you're probably never likely to come across, but I'm sure you'll have clients that are operating in a particular industry that may well have a very industry-specific application that they may use. We're very keen on extending this list. It does require a good dialogue with the application vendor and their willingness for us to integrate in with them. There's usually not a problem with that, but it does require us to be able to have that dialogue with them. But generally we can support those other applications as well. Let us know if there's any applications that crop up that aren't already listed on the by industry section on our website. That's where they're listed at the moment. Social networking, this is a nice example of application integration on the Facebook side of things. So if in the caller's contact record, wherever that might be, whether it's the shared address book or Outlook or whatever, if there's an email address in there, then we will search the user's Facebook member list for a match on that email address. And if we find that match, we will then pop up the caller's profile photo from Facebook, and we'll also add the Facebook logo to the list of possible logos that you can click on to pop the contact details. That's very handy if you have a client that works in something like HR, for example, where they want to see the picture of the person calling them. It's quite popular on the HR side of things, but there may be other users and applications where viewing someone's photograph is particularly useful. That's quite nice. We've also got similar application integration into LinkedIn and MySpace as well. The difference between those two is that we search the entire member list of LinkedIn and MySpace, whereas on the Facebook integration we do just search the PC users member list to see if we can find them in there. Some other bits and pieces that we can do from an integration side of things, you can tie in what happens when a particular event happens. So if it's an inbound call or an outbound call, or when the call is answered. This is a bit more sort of configuration of the client, if you like. You can go straight to the phone window. So some people don't want to use the preview window. They want the phone window to display straight away. Or maybe they want the contact's details to just pop up straight away. So rather than having to show contact, just literally throw the contact's details up on the screen as soon as as soon as the call rings or as soon as the call connects. You can also integrate into web pages and programs using the additional event application integration, and you can set this up based on whether it's an incoming or an outgoing call, etc., whether it's external or an internal user. So examples of that might be you fire up a web page when something happens, or maybe you fire up a program, and you can even pass parameters through to that program as well, based on the event being an incoming or an outgoing call, or an internal or an external user. So additional sort of free format integration, if you like, into other applications. An example of that would be an IP camera integration. So a camera stream can open up maybe when the call rings or when the call is answered, or even when a number is dialed. So for example, literally view a door camera before you answer the phone. That's just an example of the kind of integration that's available there. Something we deal with in a little bit more detail tomorrow is the Exchange calendar integration. We've seen some evidence of that on my demo today, where it picked up my availability, showing that it was GoToMeeting training. What this allows is the user's availability and status is now connected to their appointments and their out-of-office settings in Microsoft Exchange. Now, this was possible before with standard Outlook integration that was available in the CRM and the Office clients, but that only worked if the PC client was actually connected to GoConnect. So the minute they go home, then that availability information isn't available. Whereas with the new Exchange calendar integration, then it talks directly to the Exchange server, so it doesn't have any prerequisite on the status of the PC client itself. And there's also some additional intelligence built into it if you have multiple overlapping meetings, etc. So I'm going to show you the details of that tomorrow in the pre-sales presentation. That feature, the Exchange calendar integration, is new in 2.4.xx, the new iteration coming out on the 1st of October. And it's instigated through the usual integration on the PC client. Okay, something also new in 2.4 is software assurance. This may not have sort of been as noticeable to you as some of the new features in the product, but it's something that we're pushing quite heavily now. It's the software subscription and support program for your clients, and what it means is that when they subscribe to software assurance, they have access to major and minor upgrades in the product, so product enhancements, new features, and new functionality. And it also gives them access to product and technical support as well. There's full details of it on the 2.4 launch website, including a document that explains exactly how it all works, and you can download that document and send it to users as a resource if you need to. If they don't go with software assurance, then they still have the standard 3-month warranty on the product. Obviously, it doesn't affect their customer rights, if you like, but we're very keen on promoting the software assurance. The way it works, we're going to look at this in a bit more detail on the pricing tomorrow when we price up some sample quotes for you. But the way it works is 1 year's cover is 20% of the GoConnect license retail price, and it's basically all of the components that they're purchasing. You then apply the 20% on that, although each individual line item at the moment is calculated with a software assurance 20% on top of it. I'll show you some examples of that in the examples tomorrow. It works kind of two ways. Either the first year is free if they register within the first 3 months of purchase, or also you can purchase 2 years for the price of one if it's purchased within the initial license sale. So those two bullets essentially mean the same thing. It's 2 years for the price of one. The first year is actually free. But there are reinstatement fees if they try to, or if they want to, apply software assurance after 3 months of the initial purchase price. So they can't sort of 6 months later decide they suddenly want software assurance. But at the moment, until the 31st of December, we're holding off those reinstatement fees. We're very keen to get clients onto software assurance. More details on that tomorrow if that's something that's of interest to you. Quick summary of the benefits, just to sort of recap, and these are kind of handy for you to use as your own sort of sales slides. If you like, you can hack these around and steal my speaker notes if you want to. So various areas: increasing your customer satisfaction. For example, reducing call response times, much more professional handling of the calls. Hopefully you can see from that demonstration that we showed you that even if it's a caller coming in who wanted to speak to one of your colleagues, then you can handle that call much more professionally. The call history allows you to sort of identify missed calls and return those calls very quickly. So one area to sell to your customers is their customer satisfaction. Another one will be saving money, and we very sort of strongly believe in this in terms of reducing the call time and therefore reducing call charges, transferring calls much quicker, reducing the number of calls that have been made. That example of pushing mobile calls through the PBX could significantly reduce mobile calling charges, and maybe having an operator somewhere in the environment might help to reduce costs as well. Having calls coming through a particular operator, particularly if you implement it across multiple sites, one operator looking after the calls coming into up to 10 sites. And then staff productivity is another thing that's well worth pushing to your clients in terms of just improving the productivity, particularly if there's a very high inbound and or outbound call rate. This little post-it here kind of summarizes that we think that the click to dial features and the contact popping could save up to 25 seconds per call. So you can apply that to one of your customers that might make 100 calls a day, and you can start to look at the kind of time that they can save by having very, very quick access to the phone numbers that they want to dial out, or having access to the caller's details of calls coming in, rather than diving around the different applications to find that information. So we believe that increasing productivity and also the collaboration between the the individual users of GoConnect, including the mobile users. From a sales point of view, from your point of view in terms of selling the product, then we like to think that the mobile and the attendant clients that we've added in 2.4 will provide extra functionality in the product, and therefore it makes it much easier for you to sell that product to your clients and increase the value of that sale in terms of what that product's actually going to do for your clients. We do often find that the client's initial tick lists might include things that they're actually not really that interested in. So they might be completely PC users, but they might have a box that says, is there a Mac client, just for the sake of asking the question. So even if they're not interested in things like Attendant or mobile or the Mac client, the fact that we have them now means that in that initial tendering stage, there's extra boxes that you can now tick that you couldn't tick before with 2.4. And we actually think that Office Client itself, and the demo that I gave you earlier was just a bog standard Office Client, and that's quite feature rich with the messaging, with the call control, the call history. All that stuff I demoed on the live demo is all available on that bog standard Office Client, and it's a fairly low price point for that client. So you might want to consider potentially just bundling GoConnect Office with a standard PBX sale, to improve or increase the the value of that initial PBX sale. And one thing that maybe wasn't evident on the demonstration, we talk about this a bit more tomorrow, is the hardware requirements. There are none. If it's a fairly small setup, less than 50 users, then the client users have all got their own mobile phones anyway. They've got their own PCs and their Macs, so there's no additional hardware on that side of things. And up to about 50 users, you can generally share the GoConnect server with another server. It depends what's running on that server, but it certainly doesn't need its own dedicated server. So in terms of additional hardware required to get GoConnect into an environment, potentially it could be absolutely zero in terms of what's required on the hardware side of things. And obviously the phone system itself doesn't require any tweaks or changes in order for it to work with GoConnect. We've got various online portals. It's getting more and more now, so I'll just put a slide up here just to show you what is available to you and to your clients as well. There's the GoConnect CRM open website that everybody can view, that's just got general product and corporate information on it. So by all means use that to sort of send that to your clients to give them information about what GoConnect is all about. You've got the 2.4 launch website, which requires a login and a password. That's for all resellers. And you'll find the training slides like the ones today and some other sort of product collateral on there as well. You'll also find details of our new Select Partner program on the 2.4 launch website. And the Select Partner program then gives you access to the special Select Partners websites as well. And on there, what you'll find is full price listing information, much more on the training side, technical guides and extra marketing information. You get trial versions of pre-release software. There's a demo client like the one I was using today, so you can actually properly demo the product and actually get to use it yourself and get much more familiar with it. And as one of the guys was saying earlier, now that they're using the product themselves, it makes it much easier to explain that product to other people and to sell it to other people. You get an NFR license, you get a listing on the Select Partner website, which is coming up soon, and you get to use the the Select Partner logo in your marketing collateral. You get a light branded client, so rather than this one coming up, as you saw when I actually started my demo, there's a one-off fee for this, I believe. Javier can tell me for sure, but you can actually create your own branded GoConnect client if you want to, so that's what comes up when PC users start up their client. And there's also other product promotions and things available on there as well. We're often giving sort of licensing away, etc., etc. There's offers on there and special features that are available from time to time as well. Tomorrow I'm going to tell you how you actually apply for the Select Partner Program. There's some details on that in the pre-sales presentation. So questions-wise, if you've got any questions specific to this webinar that you want to ping to us later on, then just send it to webinars@mondago.com and we can deal with that and send it to the appropriate people, and we can copy all the other attendees in on the answer if it's applicable to do that. In general, if you have sales inquiries, it's sales at, and if you have technical inquiries, it's support at. But anything specific to the webinar, then just drop it to webinars and we can pick that up more directly. And that is pretty much everything that we needed to cover today. So just give you a chance to ask any questions that you got now, but by all means you can send those questions on later if you want to. Anybody got any questions?
Phil, hi, it's Tim Docker. Are you going to distribute the presentation?
I believe Javier is going to put it on the website, but do you send it to them as well, Javier?
Yeah, they will be available in the reseller website.
Yeah.
They are now available if you want to go now.
Ah, yeah, because we did this last week, so they're actually there already, Tim.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've got a username and a login.
Okay,
I
Tim,
guess I just registered, do I?
Yeah, I will send you anyway or you have the access to the launch 2.4, or you don't have
to what, sorry?
that either. To the launch website. What? Can you go back to the slides?
Yeah.
That one. GoConnectCRM.com 2.4 launch. You don't have the access for that one either.
I don't think so, no.
Okay, Tim.
I don't think I've got access to anything at all.
Okay, Tim. I will be sending you an email with that information then.
If you could, that would be great.
Yeah, and you'll actually find tomorrow's on there as well, Tim, with the speaker notes if you can't make it tomorrow. But
No, I can. I've just checked my diary in actual fact. I'm okay for tomorrow morning.
yeah,
so
I should say tomorrow there's a bit of repetition from today, but if the same guys are on tomorrow, then we can cut through some of that. It's probably going to take less than an hour to cover the material tomorrow, but tomorrow's purpose is to give you the tools that you need to be able to build up a quote and actually understand the individual licensing implications of the different components that we've looked at today. All right, so if you're involved in the quoting side and actually preparing that quote and understanding how that works, then that's sort of interest for you tomorrow.
Good, yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Martin, Damien, any other questions?
No, that's good for me, thanks, Phil.
Yeah, it's good.
Very useful.
Okay, so hopefully you're fully up to speed now. We keep changing the product, so next week you'll be out of date again, but at least today you can say you're fully up to date with everything that you need to know about GoConnect.
And just a quick question, actually.
Sure.
The fairly recent SIMS integration for schools, that is just a CRM license, isn't it? It connects just the same way as what we've just been talking about.
Pretty sure, yes, Javier?
Yeah, but that requires also remote installation services.
Yeah. In fact, I should have mentioned that tomorrow. Something else we talk about tomorrow is the installation side of things as well. So it's the licensing, how things are licensed, what installation services we provide on those licenses, and also how you then take a client inquiry and turn that into a quote. That's what we look at tomorrow.